the Greater Bengaluru Governance Bill that's really raised a lot of concerns. Citizens groups in Bengaluru are now up in arms, condemning the Congress government, questioning their intention with this bill. To take you through, as we see, protesters are protesting against this bill that was passed by the Karnataka government on March 10th, saying that it was fully rushed into without any public consultation. They fear that this will centralize power in an unelected body. Basically, the power that was held by the BBMP earlier will now come completely under the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. Now, this, according to them, will override all local voices. Local representation like corporators, councils, all of that will be completely overlooked and overstepped, and the government will entirely have a decision-making capacity and power over Bengaluru, which is, according to many of them, a cash cow. So the intention of the government is now being raised here. The bill proposes splitting Bengaluru into 7 municipal corporations under the new 3-tier system. One, the Greater Bengaluru Authority at the top includes the BDA, BWSSB, BMTC, BESCOM and the police, etc. Second, multiple city corporations in the middle can levy taxes and cess. Third, ward committees at the grassroots, and the Congress government arguing that Bengaluru is too large, that is 786 square kilometers, for one mayor and commissioner to handle the entire works of it. And basically, they are stepping in only to streamline and be more efficient in handling Bengaluru, like, for example, garbage crisis or infrastructure development, road issues. Now, earlier that the BBMP would carry out, it will be the BBMP, but it will entirely come. BBMP was an independent body, largely. It will now fully come under the Chief Minister. But the opposition parties and the citizens particularly opposing this, saying that this is nothing but power grab by the state that bypasses elected corporators. GBA, they say, will have sweeping control without accountability. Citizens were not consulted on major structural changes. This is what their concerns are. Joining me now to weigh in on this a little more is Bengaluru's face, an actor himself and a proud Bengalurian, Prakash Belawadi. Thanks very much, sir, for speaking right here on News 9 on this very important issue. Also, Katyayani Chamaraj, Executive Trustee of Civic Bengaluru, also joins us. Let me start with Prakash Belawadi. Sir, your take on the Greater Bengaluru Governance Bill. Why do you oppose it? What exactly is the reservation you have with it? Because we hear that the government wants to streamline work and better it in Bengaluru. Why are you opposing?
That people who get elected elsewhere, not in Bangalore city or any of its wards or legislative assembly constituencies, tend to be in charge of this city. They're really not even citizen stakeholders in that sense. And to not allow the city to elect its own representatives at the ward level, to make decisions for its growth or management at the ward level in consultation with experts, and to have an empowered mayor who can sanction this, and we will use the resources that the city itself generates to make these projects happen. That has always been observed in the breach. The BBMP that existed before, as you rightly asked in your first question, was a useless BBMP. But that was useless because that was the BBMP that the state had made, successive governments had made. So, if they fail to score, and they say, see, we have not scored well at all, so can we be made the captain of the team? What the hell does that mean? So that is the first objection, that the city should be managed by representatives elected by citizens here.
Right. Mr. Belawadi, you also did mention, when I spoke to you about how Rahul Gandhi had promised that this would be the setup, that there will be councillors governing it, there will be a mayor whose tenure will be increased to 5 years, but it seems to have been the opposite done by the same Congress government.
But Rahul Gandhi ji has promised that the city, when they win the elections, will have an empowered mayor who has a full 5-year term, and the city will be actually managed by the elected councillors. And this is in complete breach and flying in the face not only of the mandate that that the 74th Amendment gives on behalf of the citizens to the government, but it also flies in the face of the promise made by their leader, Sri Rahul Gandhi.
Let me bring in Katyayani on this. Ms. Katyayani, what more are the fears here? We know that there are several wards or areas in Bengaluru that may need more attention than one. If the government, which is ideally, they have their ear and feet and eyes on the ground, so if they promise to streamline this and work better for certain areas that may need more help, what's the opposition here? If you could take us through the nitty-gritties of this bill.
So you see, Mr. Balwadi very rightly mentioned the 74th constitutional amendment. Now that has been in place for 32 years now, but none of its provisions have been effectively implemented. So what did the 74th amendment want? You know, it was brought in 1992 because at that time also the local bodies had become weak and ineffective because they did not have constitutional status. And uh, there was a failure to hold regular elections to the local bodies, and there was inadequate devolution of powers and functions to the local bodies. So that was the objective and aim of bringing the 74th Amendment. And when you pass a new law uh, for Bengaluru, do you try to put these aims into practice or do you reverse them again? Now, we had some kind of BBMP Act and before that the Karnataka Municipal Corporation Act, which did devolve a lot of powers and functions to the local body, respecting the 74th Amendment. But now they are completely reversing it by instead of devolving powers, they are centralizing the powers. And instead of ensuring that the law makes sure that elections are held every 5 years, they have not given power to the State Election Commission. Now, this was a lacuna even in the earlier Karnataka Municipal Corporations Act and the BBMP Act. What they have done is, instead of giving power to delimit the constituencies and to fix the reservation, to the State Election Commission, they have held that power with the state government so that the state government can go on delaying elections by not conducting the reservation on time, not doing the delimitation on time. The irony is that the State Election Commission had to go to the High Court to get the state to do the delimitation and the reservation in time. So that that is why we are seeing now that though regular elections every 5 years is a mandate in the 74th Amendment, the we have not had a local council for 4.5 years now.
Okay, so I get your point. There's been a lot of delay on that front, but it's not as if the BBMP worked so efficiently. If they failed, then why are you opposing a more central ownership?
See, what they have done is they did not devolve enough functions to the BBMP. That is why it failed, because the parastatals like the BWSSB, BESCOM, and all the other BDA which you mentioned, they were all still accountable to the state government, and instead of being made accountable to the local government BBMP. So that was the basic error when they amended the Karnataka Municipal Corporation Act in 1994. So without devolving the functions, you are saying BBMP is a failure. That is your own fault. So if you had only devolved and made the parastatals accountable to BBMP, these problems wouldn't have arisen. And now also, in the 74th Amendment, the very, very important provision is the Metropolitan Planning Committee, which is supposed to plan for Bengaluru at the third tier of government as a local self-government. And you are taking away that power now and handing it over back to the state government. So that
that's what Prakash Belwadi did mention about Bengaluru contributing immensely to Karnataka. Your take on that, Prakash Belwadi, on Bengaluru really being the biggest contributor, and that could be one reason why the government could be eyeing it.
37.4% of the GDP of the state is contributed by Bangalore city. It's not such a great thing because, about 14 million people live here. Mangalore, in fact, has a better score, I think, because 5.76% of it does, and it does not have its per capita contribution seems to be much greater than that. Evidently, the contribution to the state is from the city, and the neglect of the city is appalling. And it comes because, see, the mayor of the city is beholden to the chief minister of the state. And the chief minister of the state, because he knows where, the golden, the goose that lays the golden egg lives, he will never, whichever chief minister that is, will never hand over power to a city empowered mayor. This is the real issue. Whatever else we talk about, it'll be this. And the tragedy is that because it's a equation of power, neither the BJP, which is a rotten party in Karnataka, nor the JDS, which is a severely compromised, if not an equally rotten party, I would say at least their leaders seem to be wink, wink, hand in glove with this dispensation, the current dispensation.
Right, but your limited point with regards to consultation, that I know is what the larger concern here is, that this bill was introduced so quickly in 3 days is what I heard you say. How can a bill of such nature be introduced in 3 days? What level of consultation did they have?
We have a master plan that was conceived in 2007 that died in 2015. So how did you make these plans without a master plan? Who told you what you must do where? How did you arrive at those conclusions? I'm talking about a bill that is 150 pages odd. In February, 2025, they came in front of the public to the 5 zones of Bengaluru city, some north zone, west zone, east zone, central zone kind of thing. And over 3 days, they did what they called a public consultation on such a bill, which involves issues that are legal, issues that are technical. When, the Legislative Assembly takes over 6 months to sit on it, you think in 3 days, citizens can actually arrive at a decision on this. So I'm saying we are not happy with this simply because, and with this I'll conclude, we suspect the intent of the government in this matter.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate the both of you, Katyayani ma'am and Prakash Belwadi. Appreciate your time. Let's just hope the government reconsiders.